Welcome back to the Golden State with Mates. Postgame live, the playing tournament it is for the Golden State Warriors after a 124-119 devastating overtime defeat to the LA Clippers on Sunday afternoon or Monday morning here for me in Australia. I'm still trying to wake up. It's just gone 9 a.m. Let me know your thoughts in the chat, but there's plenty to get to. So many different storylines from this game, so many different things that happened. Such a topsy-turvy affair. What were there, like over 20 lead changes or whatever else? We've got the Jonathan Kuminga storyline to get to with him being benched in this entire game from Steve Kerr. Did not see a single second as the rotation was shortened to 9. But, man, that was a game full of emotions, and it felt like a Game 7. It felt like do or die, and it's kind of weird. Like, the Warriors do get another 2 opportunities here to clinch a playoff berth, and without trying to be too pessimistic about it, they could be in some trouble because they played this game like it was do or die. Jimmy Butler played 48 minutes. Pods played 43. Steph played 38. They played it really hard. Jimmy gets injured there with a concerning contact leg injury on a Kawhi drive in the final minute. That's going to be a problem. You face a young Memphis team on Tuesday. I don't know. I think it's going to be tough. And then I've already seen people on the timeline on X/Twitter saying, get beaten by the Grizzlies on Tuesday, and then Clay can come in and end our season on Friday. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. But I want to go back to some plays here down the stretch. I think that's what I want to do first, just analyze some plays here because Steph took over in the fourth, right? He had 18 points in the fourth quarter, had a 3 in overtime as well. But I want to go back to the fourth. Steph hits that pull-up 3 with a minute 56 to go, puts the Warriors up 111-107. When he hit that, and you could kind of see his celebration, he knew that was going in, and I just thought, okay, now we're on. We should be able to close this out. Harden gets a way too easy driving layup on the following possession. And then the next one, the Clippers just sell out and Steph throw 2 at him. Pods gets the ball. Pods played well in this game, right? He played well. 19 points, I think, 7 of 11, fairly efficient. Too many times, though, where he just got the ball and the offense stagnated. And we know that's a Kaminga issue at times, and he's been axed from the rotation because of some of this stuff. Pods did play well, and I'm not saying that he should have played less minutes or whatever else, but one too many times where the ball just stuck in his hands and he, got the ball from Steph, and he probably should have swung it to Jimmy. I think if I go back to it, I think he still got the ball with 7 or 8 seconds left on the shot clock, and instead he basically holds it and is forced into a travel, right? So that wasn't great. And then the next play I want to give this was a big issue for mine on Steph. So Kawhi's got the ball and he's well away from the basket. He's like well beyond the 3-point line, and there's like 7 on the shot clock, 7 or 8 in the shot clock, and he's being guarded by Jimmy Butler. Okay, in that situation, Jimmy Butler is one of the better perimeter defenders when he's locked in the league. Kawhi is one of the great offensive players, no doubt about that, but he's well away from the basket. You lead by 2. You're in the final minute here, and instead, Steph comes to double so late in the shot clock. Kawhi gives it up to Dunn, and then Dunn basically turns around and lobs it to Zubac because the Warriors were out of kilter on defense after Steph came and double teamed. That's a mistake. That is a legitimate mistake. I am backing in, and I'm not saying it's Steph's fault. Maybe that's what Steve told him to do in that situation. But to me, I'm backing Jimmy Butler into guarding Kawhi Leonard in that situation when he's that far from the basket and so late in the shot clock. I'm just backing Jimmy Butler to guard Kawhi one-on-one like the Warriors did on the final possession as we move forward here. The next one, Steph turns it over. And then Draymond has a very ballsy decision to foul Kawhi, and they had a foul to give, but it meant that the Warriors weren't going to get the ball back. And so Kawhi got the last shot. And in credit to Draymond in that situation, he did get a stop, and the Warriors played Kawhi one-on-one in that situation with Draymond on him. Draymond did get the shot. Kawhi's game-winning attempt wasn't close, and we go to overtime, right? And then Harden just took over in overtime, and I'm confused a little bit about the Gary Payton the second minutes. GP2 closed the game. he is an offensive liability. Like, he's not going to look to score, look to shoot. And if he's going to get cooked by Harden like he did, Harden had 12 of the Clippers' 13 points in overtime. He had 2 big threes to start. If GP2 is not going to be able to do much on Harden in that situation, then why is he out there instead of Moody when Moody at least is going to be some kind of three-point shooting threat? So anyway, Harden hits a couple of big threes, gets the Clippers out to a 6-point lead. And you think from there, okay, the Warriors are pushing uphill. Like, if you're down 6 in overtime, you've got to kind of play perfect basketball on both ends from that point. Draymond makes a big clutch corner 3 where Zubac, again, late in the shot clock, probably should have closed out a little bit harder, but whatever. The one that really annoyed me from a refereeing perspective was when Harden looked to lob it up to Zubac and he got fouled by Payton, and somehow the refs decided he was in the act of shooting. No, he was not. That was a clear pass. I'm sorry. Bob Myers was saying on the broadcast, maybe some Warrior bias from him as well, but that was a poor officiating decision. So I'm not sure, like, that hurts in a game down the stretch in overtime. Basically, the Clippers get 2 free points out of that. They might have scored after the foul anyway, but still frustrating. Steph makes a big 3 again. He was big in overtime. Kawhi misses a step back 3. Then Steph, they were down 2 at that point, and that was the one I believe where Steph just like ran the floor, was weaving through traffic, and to me was like out of control a little bit and turned it over. Harden then makes another floating jump shot where Jimmy tried to get the block. To me, that was the right decision. They called it a goaltend. They went to review. I have no issue with that one. Like, the one where Harden got the 2 free throws, I have an issue with. But the Butler one, that was a goaltend to me. The ball was on the way down. If that was a Warrior player and the Clippers blocking that, we would all call that a goaltend. So that was the right decision made there. I'm not complaining about that one whatsoever. Jimmy then gets the layup, and there's a foul called on Dunn. They review it. Rightly so too. Again, not a foul, I don't think. Maybe like he touched him, but again, I'm not. Incidental contact, not illegal contact was the call. I'm okay with that. I don't think it was necessarily a foul. I think what happened was the ref wasn't going to call a foul, thought the layup was spinning out, so did call a foul, and then the layup spun in. And so, again, I think right decision there, wasn't a foul. No complaints on that one. I thought the officiating was okay. I don't have an issue too much aside from that one where Harden got 2 free throws on what was clearly a pass, I thought. And then the last 2 offensive possessions for the Warriors. So they do get a stop on the other end with Kawhi traveling. Again, that was the one where he banged into Jimmy. And then the last 2, Draymond, what are you doing? What are you doing, Draymond Green? Wide open layup. Like, Zubac is kind of there and Kawhi's kind of there, but they're not close enough. Like, that's an open layup. And he tried to draw contact instead and left the layup short. Oh, man. That gives me throwback vibes to, was it his like potential game winner in the playing tournament against the Grizzlies where he left it way short? I don't know. That was horrific. And then the Warriors do get another opportunity because Leonard misses one at the free throw line, so they're down 3. And then Buddy Hield comes into the game, and Buddy Hield gets the potentially game-tying 3 when he hasn't played for ages. Like, I don't know. It wasn't the worst look. I suppose, like, I don't know. What do you do in that situation? Steph's coming off a screen. Like, the Clippers are probably going to try and foul. So the fact they got any kind of catch and shoot look and even got a 3 up is probably a good thing. And the fact that it's technically your second best. Is he your second best 3-point shooter? Quentin Post probably is. Should Post be on the floor in that situation? I don't know, man. But so many different plays that you could look back at. Look, I think the Warriors actually played pretty well. The Stars came out to play. Steph had 36, 21 in the fourth and overtime. Jimmy had his, I think, first 30-point game as a Warrior, 30 points, 9 assists, was particularly huge in the first 3 quarters. Harden was just too good in overtime. Simple as that. And the Warriors needed to do more defensively. And if they couldn't, then I'm not sure why GP2 is on the floor. Zubac was huge. Kawhi was really efficient, 33 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists for them. Zubac, 4 of the Clippers, 9. The Clippers had 9 offensive rebounds, really beat up the Warriors. This was a real situation of the Warriors' lack of size coming back to bite them. And And this is just what happens. Like, if you're going to run these lineups, if you're Steve Kerr, and if you're going to construct a roster where your only 7-footer is a rookie who clearly the head coach is not going to trust too much in such situations, this is what you live and die by. And the Warriors died by it today. Clippers have 6 more offensive rebounds as a result, get 7 more shot attempts up in a game where, what was it? The shooting percentages were incredibly similar. Like, the Clippers shot 55.8% and 46.7% from three. The Warriors shot 54.4% and 45.5% from three. The Warriors missed 5 free throws, which is kind of frustrating as well. 18 of 23. Jimmy missed, how many Jimmy missed? 2 or 3, I think. He went 6 of 9 from the free throw line. Jimmy probably looked back at that and think, geez, if I just made an extra 1, then maybe we win that game and it doesn't go to overtime. Anyway, guys, I'm going to get into your comments. There's so many things. I know we'll get into the Kaminga stuff, the rotation, all this kind of stuff. So we'll get into it here. Hopefully no internet issues. We'll do this live stream, and then I'll probably do another podcast episode tomorrow, maybe with some more thoughts on this game, and also a preview of sorts for the play-in tournament game against the Grizzlies. Logan says, closing with a 3-guard lineup. WTF am I watching? Yeah, just got beat up on the boards. Look, I don't know why. If James Harden's going to cook you anyway, why is GP2 on the floor? That'd be my question. I think it's just, we saw like this was inevitable. Some of us, I think, hoped that this wasn't going to be the case, but it was inevitable. It's Kaminga out, Guy Santos out, Quentin Post largely out, played 10 minutes. It's GP2 25 and closing over Moody. It's Looney playing 16 minutes. Like, it's just Steve Kerr going back to his reliable veterans. Bound to happen. All right, bound to happen. And we're going to see it continue. We are. So, I don't know. I don't know at what point you say, let's just trust our young guys and throw them out there. Clearly, you trust Pods. Clearly, you trust Moody to a degree. Like, Moses still played 30 minutes in this game, and he's still going to play heavy minutes because basically it's a rotation of 6 guys, essentially, and then a bit of Buddy Hield, a bit of Loon, bit of Quentin Post. Yeah. Logan says Buddy Hield closing. Buddy Hield, of all people. I don't have an issue necessarily in most situations with Buddy being in the situation when you need it, like being in the game when you need a 3. I don't have too many issues with that. I have more of an issue with the fact you got you set up a play for him to have the shot. Now, maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe they were trying to get Steph and the Clippers closed that down. So that was kind of the second alternative. Still, it's hard to be critical of Buddy when he's like not playing much, right? To come out there and hit a clutch 3 in the final seconds. Like, it's pretty difficult. I don't really have any complaints with Buddy Hield on that particular play. It's more so, is that the best you could have gotten? Could you have got something better? I don't know. Mr. Level says Kerr got out coached by Lou once again. Lou crapped on him. Yeah, I mean, it's just the rotations. It's the lineup. Like, and in fairness, if they had another, I don't know. This is bound to happen, right? It's just bound to happen. Whether I agree with it or not, I don't know if there's much point me complaining about it, because this is just, I could have told you a few games ago that, hey, as we get closer, as we get to bigger state games here, it's going to be more GP2, more Looney. It's going to be less of the young guys. It's just is what it is, right? Absolutely bound to happen. And so I don't know if there's much point me complaining about it. It's pretty predictable. Like the Kaminga stuff, I'm not shocked about based on his last few games. I am shocked about it. This is his 4th year. He's going into being a restricted free agent, and we're still in this position where I don't know how you can bench this guy and then re-sign him in the offseason. Like, how can you possibly do that on big money? Like, you just couldn't. He's out of the rotation now. The man is out of the rotation when there's also conjecture about getting a $25+ million contract as a restricted free agent. Like, you can't do it. And so I'm more shocked about the fact that we're now in this situation again where he's like out of a playoff rotation. It's mind-boggling. I actually think if they won this game and then they played the Lakers, maybe that's more of a Kaminga matchup and you could bring him back in. And I'm not saying that he's not going to play again for the rest of the season, but man, if I'm him, like, it's pretty hard to get re-engaged, I think, and say to myself, man, like, this is my 4th year, the end of my 4th year. I'm going to be a restricted free agent, and the coach is still benching me. Now, again, maybe that I'm not shocked about it based on his last few games. They haven't been great, but still a big storyline. Still a big storyline. Logan says Guy Santos is a closing type player. Yeah. Like, we probably would have preferred him over GP2. Mr. Level says smells like a repeat of 2021. I suppose the only difference there is they're on the road in the first playing game. They've still got 2 more home games here. The crazy thing is if they do get eliminated, don't make the playoffs, that means that they would have lost 5 home games in a row to end the season, which would be wild. But they've still got 2 opportunities. Look, some people will probably look at the silver lining and say that, oh, well, if you win on Tuesday, playing the Rockets rather than the Lakers might be better anyway. But the Rockets are so physical and so defensive-minded that even if you got past the Rockets, and I don't even want to necessarily go much into a Rockets playoff series because the Warriors still have to beat the Grizzlies on Tuesday, but even if you got through a Rockets series, having gone through this game against the Clippers, having gone through the play-in tournament, I'm just not sure how much the Warriors are going to have left in the tank to really go on any kind of deep, sustained playoff run. So right now it's pretty rough. And if you lose to the Grizzlies, and even if you beat the Mavs or the Kings in the last game of the play-in tournament, then you get the Thunder in the first round. Yay, congratulations. Like, I know this really hurts just as much about the lack of rest and how hard you had to fight in this game and the fact that you didn't come up trumps. It really hurts because now you got the Jimmy concern, the Steph. Look, he looked really good in this game, but the thumb thing is still going to be an issue. And obviously, ideally, you would have got nearly a week off for him to rest that up. Draymond could have done with a rest. And now they're going to have to play again in 48 hours time. So, tough. Logan says, Steve Kerr, Buddy Hield obsession. We all know Buddy Hield sucks. This loss isn't the end of the world, though. They play well against Memphis, and I like the Rockets matchup. Logan also says, Buddy Hield in playoff-like games, this will be the end of the team. Yeah, but I don't know. What's the alternative? Man, Bradley Beal. That might be the alternative in the offseason. Buyout. Welcome to the Warriors. I don't know. We might be looking at off-season stuff pretty soon here if the Warriors can't win one of these next 2 games. Dan Necker says, so disappointed we are 0-3 in the play-in. Imagine we lose to the Grizzlies, then Clay hits a 3 to send us home. Beat the Grizzlies at home, play the Rockets. Hate the Lakers, hope Wolves beat them. That'd be a good playoff series, Lakers-Wolves. Pretty confident in the Lakers winning, but what do we got here? So my early thoughts, just to get away from the Warriors for 2 seconds. So obviously the 1, 2, 7, 8 matchups, we don't know yet, but the 3-6 is the Lakers and the Wolves, which, again, I think the Lakers will win, but it's a fun series, no doubt. Ant will think he's better than LeBron and Luka and the best player on the floor. And then, obviously, you've got the Nuggets and the Clippers facing each other, which is going to be a great series as well. I might face the Clippers just based on form, to be honest, and the fact they've got Zubac to try and provide some size against Jokic. So I think they match up okay. I was wondering how long it was going to be before some internet issues. Let's hope we don't get too many more. Sorry, FRQ Steve says, Kerr don't trust Kaminga. Let's sign and trade Miles Turner. I really want to know, like, it's almost more fascinating to me what rival teams think of this and what that does to Kaminga's market value in the offseason. Like, would a Brooklyn Nets team look at this and think, oh, we don't give a crap. Like, we'll still sign him to an offer sheet of over, $25 million a year. Or do they look at this and think, oh, crap, like, okay, now he's out of the rotation completely? Like, we're not paying a guy that's out of a playoff rotation $25+ million a year. So it's going to be super fascinating. FTW Clan says, I know Curry got hot in the 4th, but when we were up 4 with under 2 minutes, some of those rush turnovers by Curry killed me. Like, that's the perfect time to slow things down and get Jimmy the ball. Agree with that. He had one play in particular where he just like rushed the ball up the floor and then was dribbling against like 3 guys. And I was just like, bro, just chill. Like, what are you doing? Carlos says, no Gee, no TJD. Not completely shocked by that. FTW Clan says, Kaminga completely benched. Why? Well, it's kind of been coming based on Steve's recent comments in the media where he's just like, well, Jimmy, Draymond, and JK can't play together. Oh, I felt better about our team a few weeks ago. And everyone's looking at like, well, Kaminga came back a few weeks ago. So doesn't take doesn't take Einstein to work out what he's basically implying there. So this kind of has been, stemming, I suppose, from Kerr's recent media comments. And again, I'm not totally shocked by it, but I kind of am at the same time because it's his fourth year. He was in career best form before the ankle injury. It's rough. I'm so disappointed at the fact the franchise has let it get to this point. Like, you've got Kaminga on the bench doing nothing. Nothing. And you could have possibly gone and got like Cam Johnson, right? And imagine if the Warriors had Cam Johnson in the GP2 spot, right? Bit more size, elite three-point shooter to take the pressure off Steph and Jimmy or make those shots when those guys get double-teamed and whatever else, right? Okay-ish defender. Not a great one, but again, has some size, and GP2 is not locking down Harden anyway. Like, that's a mistake. That's a brutal, brutal mistake from the front office. And maybe more so Joe Lacob, because I think Joe Lacob's the big one who obviously loves Kaminga. Give me some interesting conversations between him and Steve. Like, that's a mistake. That just is. And it doesn't really, like, maybe Kaminga can make up for it here in a playoff series or whatever else, but right here, right now, that's a really brutal mistake. The fact that Jonathan Kuminga is still on this team and it's year 4 and he's getting benched in a playoff-like game, and the Warriors at different points could have traded him. And now what are they going to do in the offseason? Like, they're just going to let him walk. And that's horrible mismanagement of assets. It really is. Tired Basketball Fan says, I don't think that was a travel for Pods, but it wasn't going to be a good possession either way. He missed the shot. It doesn't matter. It was terrible. Thenix says, what do you think of JK not playing? Exactly what I just went through there. I think he should still play some minutes with Steph. Like, it really. Could you go to Kaminga and say, look, man, you're going to play. You're not going to be in the closing lineup most likely, and you're probably only going to play 10 to 15 minutes. Can he buy into that at this point? Maybe not. But, like, I still think he's worth having out there for 10, 15 minutes, because all of a sudden, like, I'm going back to, when Jimmy and Draymond are off the floor, and, at any time Jimmy's off the floor and Pods is off the floor, and it's Steph and Moses and Buddy Hield and GP2 and Looney. And I'm like, man, this is rough on Steph. This is rough. And at least if you had Kaminga out there, you got a guy who, can come up, set a screen for Steph and dive to the rim and finish at the rim. And, like, there's some minutes there to be had, I think. I don't think he needed to be axed completely, but maybe Steve just thought to himself, well, I'm not going to be able to get him engaged enough if I'm only going to play him 10 to 12 minutes. So what's the point of playing him those minutes anyway? I don't know. Tired Basketball Fan says they were doubling smartly in the beginning, then they just started leaving guys wide open in advantage positions. The Steph one at the end of regulation where Zubac got a dunk from Dunn out of it, that was so poor. Like, if you're going to double, like, I don't know, probably do it earlier and get it out of, like, the hands earlier, but I don't know. Like, 7 or 8 in the shot clock, I'm just backing Jimmy to guard Kawhi in that situation. FRQ Steve says Kaminga probably didn't play because he's got no defensive IQ and got no mismatches to take advantage of on offense. Jimmy had a good time taking advantage of Bogdanovic, particularly in the first half. Maybe Kaminga could have done that as well. I don't know. Hansolo Dolo says they need to trade Kaminga for Cam Johnson or Denny from the Trailblazers. Man, it would have been nice. You're not getting Denny. You might get Cam, but that the time's come and gone for that. The time has come and gone, I think. Then next says Moody only had 4. His defense was great in the first half. His 4 points came on 2 times where he picked Harden and was it Harden on both occasions that he picked and got dunks / layups on the other end. His defense was impressive early. 3 steals, 2 blocks. I think that almost all came in the first half. So, and then we went to GP2 down the stretch to guard Harden, and Harden had 12 of the Clippers' 13 points. Man, fantastic. Logan says Guy Santos need to play rebounds and plays with intensity. A winning player, no Buddy Hield BS. The problem for me as well is that like Steve will probably look at it and say, well, I can't play too many young guys, and Buddy Hield is 32 years old. Man, Buddy Hield has played 4 playoff games. They all came last year. This man does not have any big game experience. He doesn't. And so to say, oh well, Buddy Hield's a more experienced player, and therefore I trust him more in these situations. No, you don't. What's the history of suggesting that that's the case? He has played 4 playoff games in a 9-year career, right? What's the difference between him and Guy Santos in terms of big game experience? There's none. There is none. Cool, he had 20 points in Game 6 against the Knicks in the first round last season. He also had 3 games with a combined 2 points. It's the Buddy Hield experience, right? It's bound to be the case. You know what it is. Steve knows what it is. Yet you're not going to go to Guy Santos. That one actually might frustrate me the most. I don't know. They obviously think they just need the sheer 3-point threat. Like, teams are going to close out harder to Buddy Hield than they will Gee. Like, they're going to see Gee out there and think, okay, we're just going to let you fire away from 3. Buddy, on the other hand, they'll be like, yeah, you kind of have made like the most threes in the league for the last 6 years. So I suppose we better actually close out a little bit and stay attached to you a little bit. Thai basketball fan says the Harden free throws were big, and like you said, it was pretty obvious. Yeah, I don't care that it was a foul. Like, wasn't even close to the rim. It was a great lob to Zubac. It was a great lob. It was going to be a lob dunk to Zubac. Fantastic play. You also got fouled on the pass. Should have been no basket. It's the only real officiating decision I can frustrate. Aside from that, don't have any real issues. The Butler goaltend was a goaltend. Happy to agree with that one. Right, the Butler layup foul call that then was overturned to a no call, fine, fantastic, not a foul. But that pass one from Harden that they called in the act of shooting, that's some BS. Then Nick says we missed 6 free throws. Yeah, was disappointing. Jimmy missing 3 free throws. It's big. The others are expected to be inconsistent. Agree with that. Then Nick says Dre always wants a foul instead of shooting the ball. Man, that was. You just don't really want him in that situation, do you? I don't know. I'd almost rather him from 3 in a situation like that than around the basket. Chris says refs were good today. I agree. I think it was a good refereed game. Usually I'd come into a game like this in overtime and I point to like 10 things. It's like, what are we doing here with these officiating decisions? But, I thought they were pretty good. Well done. Well done, refs. Hopefully those 3 guys, whoever it was, get some playoff time based on that. Thai basketball fan says, I've been saying this about Draymond for a while. Didn't anticipate it being such a big decider for the entire season, man. FRQ Steve says, why you all hate Kerr? It's literally not his fault. Not sure if that's sarcasm or, yeah, anyway. Thanik says, do you think we beat the Grizzlies at home? I'd like to think so. But at the same time, man, like, the Jimmy injury concern at the end there and him playing 48 minutes in this game. Steph playing 38 minutes with the thumb injury. Draymond's old. Like, you're relying pretty heavily on GP2 when I'm not sure you should be, but he played 25 minutes in this game and he's had a few injury concerns recently. The knee inflammation. Most recently saw him miss the back-to-back earlier in the week. Steve says, when Kaminga is on, another worries. Jay Talk says, it was a great look, but having him take that is 1,000% on Kerr. Definitely not the priority in that situation, but I suppose the thing is, like, you need to try and get Steph in that situation, because if Steph's curling, right, off a screen in that situation, then by the time he has to kind of turn and get into his shooting motion, the Clippers probably have an opportunity to foul in that situation, as opposed to the way Buddy got the ball, which is he caught the ball looking at the basket and therefore can go straight into a shooting motion and doesn't give the Clippers an opportunity to foul. So the fact they got a 3-point look is okay. I'm not sure if you could have got Steph on that play instead of Buddy. Probably not. The Clippers would have thrown 2 guys at that or whatever. But I don't know. It's all the ifs and buts, I suppose, after a close game like that. Uh, who would you rather take the last three? Steph over a double team. They would have fouled him also. Most realistic shot is Buddy taking the three. Yeah, I agree somewhat with that. Andrew the Goat says, I can't believe the Warriors really just lost to a washed up Kawhi Leonard Clippers team and an overrated James Harden. Says Kawhi Leonard is washed up in the Warriors. Lost to him. I mean, I just saw Kawhi go 13 of 20 from the floor, 4 of 8 for 33.6 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. Not sure Kawhi's washed up. And James Harden, man, it kind of hurts. Hurts me to see a guy who's so often been so much worse in big games play so much better. Like he played above his level today, which is rare for James Harden. Wow, 39, 7 and 10. 2 steals, 2 blocks, 13 to 23, 5 of 8. Look, credit where credit's due. James Harden. Seriously, well played. And I'm being dead set. Credit to him. He's copped a lot of criticism, and rightly so, for some of his big game performances. He was huge in this game. Huge. Credit to him. Tyler basketball fans. Steph with a new season high in turnovers, and we lost every one of his shifts other than the fourth quarter one where he scored 18 in 8 minutes, yet they only won them by 4. Yeah, the first half was problematic where the Warriors went on a 20-3 run, and most of that was with Steph on the bench, and Jimmy was absolutely terrific. They got up by 12, and then Steph came back in, and they basically immediately lost it. And then Norman Powell hits that buzzer-beating 3 at the half to go in 60-58. Rough kind of last 7-8 minutes of the second quarter there. Steve says, Warriors front office will realize they had a Steve Kerr problem when Kaminga is on another team and balling out. Steph did not start the fourth in a game. You're down 1. Why not play him to start the fourth? Why is Jimmy playing 10 more minutes than Steph? That's kind of wild to me. So if I was, is it the thumb injury? Well, it's not. That's a thumb injury, not your legs injury. So it shouldn't, not a leg injury. So it shouldn't really matter how many minutes you play in that scenario. So to me, it's either Steph should be playing as many minutes as Jimmy, or at least somewhere close. Like, why is Pods playing 5 more minutes than Steph? Someone explain to me that. 8 turnovers for Steph in this game. Logan says, Buddy Hield getting any minutes ruin this team. Again, I suppose Gee is the alternative, and yeah, probably should go to that. Logan says, how do you play Buddy 16 minutes, but Gee's 0? Kerr is sabotaging. Tyler basketball fan says, Kawhi isn't washed. Certainly not. Thanex says, we lose the rebounding game. Of course we do. They've got a huge interior presence in Zubac, who goes for 22 points and 17 rebounds or whatever. And it's not the first time he's done that against the Warriors. It's not the first time. So, look, I don't know what the alternative is because, we saw some minutes with Draymond and Looney on the floor together, and I was like, we're going back to this one, are we? Okay, I guess so for the defense and rebounding purposes, but then you're just so limited offensively. I don't know. A lot of debate here in terms of the last shot between Steph and Buddy. Just having a read through here. Steve says, if Mike Malone can get fired, why do we still have Kerr as coach? I think I agree with Frosty basically saying Steph would have been fouled and they wouldn't have had a chance to tie. I think I agree with that. It's easy to say in hindsight, but who knows? But I think I agree with that. Tired basketball fans says the Warriors are a small team. Hang on, I've lost this comment. Are a small team yet can't shoot and dribble. Sure, Kerr makes mistakes, but this roster is very flawed to its core. Yeah, you got an argument. I just think the Kaminga thing is so rough. Like when you could have traded him at multiple different points for something decent. Just trying to think like Kaminga, Buddy Hield, Peyton. Does that not get you to Cam Johnson? Or even Looney, sorry. One of Looney or Peyton gets you to Cam Johnson. And obviously probably a pick in there as well. Would have been helpful in this game, I reckon. Frosty says Gee is not as good as you think. Logan says Gee over GP2. Interesting take. It's more Gee over Buddy for me. I'm not saying Gee Sanders should have been closing this game. Maybe it should have been Moody. I don't know. Would have liked to see Cam Johnson, to be honest. That's probably my answer. Frosty says we literally lost because of the lack of rebounds. That's all, and Steph's turnovers. It was a close game. I mean, there's a lot of different things we can point to. They're probably the biggest ones. To our basketball fans, now that we're in the play-in, I'm trying to be positive about it, but this still hurts. Yeah, it just hurts even more with the Jimmy injury and with the amount of minutes these guys played and how hard they played. Like, you can't fault the effort. Like, the effort was there. There's probably a few plays in the first half, and I know Steve pointed to one with Moses in the post game where there's a couple of loose balls where you would have thought, can we just dive on that and make sure we get possession, and then the Clippers end up with it and inevitably make a shot. So Frosty says Gee's not better than GP2. Let's be real. No, yeah, I think I agree with that. I'm not advocating necessarily for him to be closing. My only issue is like GP2 wasn't locking up Harden, right? And he went 1 of 4 from the floor. Not really an offensive threat. I don't know. Then next says, if we can take care of the Grizzlies, then we get the Rockets. Hopefully Lakers and Wolves might exhaust themselves. Yeah, because that would be the second round matchup. There's still a path here. There's still a path. It's just a long path, and whether the Warriors have the legs to go down the path in any meaningful way, we'll wait and see. Steve says, problem is not Kaminga, it's Steve Kerr. The Kaminga stuff is going to draw a lot of debate over the next couple of days. Frosty says, problem is Kaminga, not Kerr. It's gonna be a debate, I tell you. Han Solo says Steve Kerr needs to be fired. Frosty says Kerr hate is so forth. I love this debate. I love this debate between Steve, the Kaminga stuff, GP2, Gee, Buddy Hield. Jacob says maybe if Steph spent less energy doing the shimmy, great guy, but his sportsmanship leaves a little bit to be desired. Interesting. VT Vino post needs to get tougher and own some more boards. Love the guy. I want him to do well. Tough to be too critical of a rookie, I suppose. But at the same time, we're kind of wanting the younger guys to play more. Should he have been out there on the final possession? I almost would trust him more in that situation than Buddy Hield. Like, I genuinely would. Like, would I have preferred Quentin Post take that last 3 than Buddy Hield? Maybe. Legitimately, maybe. Hansel says they could have traded Kaminga for Cam Johnson or Denny Avdia. They also need a better big man. Yeah, I don't think Denny. I know he's taken a bigger jump since the mid-season trade deadline, and so I don't want to necessarily say that he was at the same value or same untouchable level than he was before the deadline. But I also think the Trailblazers traded like 2 first-round picks for him last offseason. I don't think they were about to turn around and trade him. VT Vino says, pretty much told the whole league that Kaminga is for sale. Very fair. I don't know how you bring him back after that. Frosty says it's a bad matchup for Kaminga. I understand why he didn't play. Logan says, what do you think of this Memphis game? Said it before. I think, we should, hopefully win, but I'm just concerned about the Jimmy injury, the Steph thumb thing, just how hard these guys played. Like, Memphis had a really easy game against, just checking that one out. Had a really easy game against Dallas. Sorry, that's the Denver-Houston game. Wrong click. Memphis won 132-97. Mavs sat all their guys. The Mavs starting lineup was Dante, Brandon Williams, Dante Exum, that is. I'll just call him Dante, go by first name basis as a fellow Australian. Brandon Williams, Najee Marshall, Max Christie, Daniel Gafford, with Dinwiddie, Caleb Martin, Kai Jones, Jaden Hardy, Dwight Powell off the bench. No Lively, no Washington, no AD, no Clay. So, Grizzlies didn't play any of their guys either. So, they're fully rested. I didn't even know that. So, no Jar, no Jaren Jackson, no Desmond Bain, So they basically know Zach Edey, know Scottie Pippen Jr., know Santi Aldama. So they basically just get a full couple of days here to prepare for the Warriors. Troublesome situation. Hansel says, I want Memphis to take the Warriors out of their misery and to shut Draymond's damn mouth, saying they're going to win a championship and he can't make layups. Shut the hell up and win games. Yeah. Yep. Fair. If you want to go win a championship, maybe make a layup in the final 40 seconds rather than looking to draw contact. Berserk Monk says Grizzlies will get cooked by Steph without Jaden Wells. They don't have a defender to bother Steph all game. Prayers up to Jalen Wells. Broken wrist, I think, off that really, really tough fall against, Charlotte a few days ago. Just Blow in the chat says, so disappointing. Berserk Monk says, I don't know why Kerr decided to stick GP2 on Harden. Harden doesn't get bothered by tiny guards. Potentially could have had Moses out there instead. Daniel says, not sure if this was mentioned earlier, but could be better to play the Rockets than the Lakers. Could be, but I still think the Rockets are going to be an incredibly tough matchup. And even if you get through them, I don't know, it just feels like losing this game in what was essentially a game 7. Jimmy's playing 48 minutes, Pod's playing 43, Steph and Draymond big minutes. Just feels like such a harder path now. And does this veteran team have it in them to be able to, win a couple of playoff series to get to the West Finals? I don't know. It's a pretty tough ask now for them to be able to do that, but we'll wait and see. Berserk Monk says Harden gets bothered by size. Daniel says Spurs game stuffed us up so bad. I won't say the actual language he used, but that Harrison Barnes 3, you win that game and you're not worrying about this game in terms of top 6 seeding. Thanks for all your comments, guys. I'll try and get a few more through here, but otherwise I'm going to finish it up. Zero says Steve Kerr needs to go. Just Below, Pod's travel was horrific. Frosty says, I think it's crazy Looney's out there to rebound and he can't rebound. How many balls did Looney have in this game? 3 rebounds in 16 minutes. Not great. Berserk says, way too many chances to trade JK in previous seasons. Now we're going to trade him at his lowest value. I mean, are we going to trade him? Are we going to get anything of value, or are we just going to let him walk? Don't know. So disappointing. El Geezus game says, think less Steph this game may have been a plus. Kerr should use that to his advantage. More teams expect Steph to beat them, use the others more often, and Steph in the right moments. Well, it was a plus in this game because Steph was a minus 16? Minus 16. Game worse. Moses a minus 14. Pods was a plus 12. Man, the Warriors were plus 12 in Brandon Bajemski's 43 minutes. Imagine saying that before the game. Imagine saying Brandon Bajemski's going to play 43 minutes. He's going to be a plus 12. He's going to have 19 points. And the Warriors lose this game. It's pretty rough. Thai basketball fan says, remember they got Jimmy last minute. They didn't want to give up assets for a smaller acquisition prior to that. True. But they could have potentially done something once they got Jimmy, they could have done something in the final. It wasn't last minute. It was like 24 hours before the deadline. Thai basketball fans says they also probably couldn't have done a 3-for-1 trade. Good point. They couldn't have done that financially. Yep. Well played. Frosty says, doesn't help that Kaminga was injured all season. Yeah, the ankle sprain just took way too long, didn't it? Steve says they are small because they want to play small. They have guys with size that did not get to development for times like now. That's on the coach. It's the really good thing about these debates is like some people will complain about Steve, some people will defend Steve, and look, I think there's arguments for both points. Like I think you could legitimately make strong arguments on both sides. Thai basketball fan says, and the Nets wanted at least 2 picks, so I'd take Cam over JK. But it's not that simple. Daniel says, I just hope we don't pay JK. We cannot give him 30 million a year. I don't know what is reasonable, but honestly, he plays like a below 20-year guy. Well, if you're not going to be part of, I don't care who you are, if you're not going to be part of a playoff rotation, I'm not paying you more than 10 to $15 million a year. I'm not paying you more than 10. Why should you pay more than $10 million for a guy who's not going to be in a playoff rotation? You just shouldn't. And so, like, I don't know how the Warriors can, like, I went into it thinking, oh, well, maybe the market might mean that they can get him back on like 15 to 20, and that could be a really team-friendly contract. And, if they did that, maybe it is. But even now, I'm thinking 15 to 20 might be overs on the fact he's not part of the rotation in the playoffs. Jesus. All right, guys. I'm going to finish it up. Just read a few more comments here. Bit of gay stuff. Maddie says, I still think Kaminga gets 20 to 25 million in the offseason. He would fit well on a ton of teams, but somehow not the Warriors. I don't know. I think like a team like Brooklyn would probably look at it now and think, this is good because we could probably get him at a cheaper number. We could offer him like 20 a year. And the Warriors were probably just like, okay, whatever. See you, JK. Like, I don't know how they can go from him not being in the playoff rotation to matching in an offer sheet for $20 million a year. It's a weird one. Zertmonk says, losing rebounds and hustling, yet what 6'8" guy do we have on the bench that always brings that to the game? Gee? Is that what you're going with? Hantola says, as soon as we get playoff Jimmy, hyperextends his knee, it's Cancun time. Man, Jimmy was really good. Really good. And, Steph was really good aside from the turnovers as well. And aside from being, minus 16 in the game. But, he rocked up in the fourth quarter. He rocked up, looked like he was going to lead the Warriors to victory. Unfortunately, not the case. Look, I think the Warriors, they played all right. I think the Clippers played really well. I think the Warriors played really well. I think that's what Steve took from the game is like these are two really, really good teams. So it's not like the Warriors played deplorably badly and this was a complete disaster. Now, the result's a bit of a disaster, but the way they played, I thought was okay. They've just got some limitations in terms of size, in terms of shooting. As someone said earlier, like it is a little bit of a flawed roster. Right? I think that's beautifully painted in the fact that Kaminga is still on the roster and yet he's axed in a playoff-like game from the rotation completely at the end of his fourth year. Just shocking. Just quickly on the Han Solo Dolo comment, though. I don't think he's hyperextended his knee. I think it was just maybe a good old-fashioned, I don't know what you guys call it in America. We call it in Australia, good old-fashioned corky, where basically you just get kneed or elbowed in, a fleshy part of the skin, right? And you get some, deep bruising going on there. I think because he was more so, it looked initially knee, but then it looked more so like he was kind of thinking about his thigh. And so I think it was just knee to thigh and a good old fashioned corky, as we like to. I don't know what they call it, a contusion. Is that what it's just called in America? I don't know. We call it a corky. Yeah, Berserk says he didn't hyperextend his knee. I thought it was a knee to thigh collision. Logan says, see you on Tuesday's post-game stream. Yep, I'll be around for it. Let's hope for a better result. Generational hater, Harden banished the Warriors to the playing game. Credit James Harden. Tire basketball fan. Jimmy had 28 like midway through the third or something, then scored 0 on one shot the rest of the game. Did have that layup in OT. But yeah, fair point. Frosty says 2 home games in the play-in should easily win one. You'd think so, but I'd really like it to be the first one because I don't really want to have to just go up against a Thunder in the first round. Logan says Jalen Wells is a big loss for Memphis. Hopefully Jimmy is fine. Yeah. Fingers crossed for Jimmy. I'm sure he'll be in the ice bath or getting massages or whatever he needs to do right now to recover for that game. I'll be back for a post-game live, win or loss, after that game on Tuesday against the Grizzlies. Let's hope for a better result from a Warrior perspective. Thank you very much to everyone who has commented. Hope you've had a good weekend aside from this disappointing loss for the Warriors. It's a reasonable weekend for me. The Pies got a good win on Friday night. The Warriors won on, when did we play? Friday as well, American time, Saturday my time. So it started off all right. This is obviously really, really disappointing, though, and not a great start to my week as we near 10 a.m. on a Monday morning. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. Follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X, Twitter. Thanks again to everyone. Thanks again to those of you that are watching via replay or if you're listening via the podcast feed. Thanks for the ongoing support. I'll be back on Tuesday. Let's hope for a better result against the Grizzlies.